Hello and welcome to another episode of ICS Cyber Talk podcast. And today I am having with me Mark Korman from Critical Impact.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it would take me.
Not a problem.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure.
We will have this interview today in English. Because it would be easier, I suppose, for you, and because I want the materials to be available for your marketing all over the globe. So I would be famous. Okay.
I think you already are.
Thank you very much. So, Mark, you are a Chief Legal and Strategy Officer in the company, and I would like let us know you a bit better. Give us some short bio,
Sure,
for the audience.
Sure. So I was born in 1978, giving away my age. I moved to Israel with my parents back in 1994, so over 30 years ago. At the age of 15, turning 16, going into 11th grade in Jerusalem. And fast forward, went to the army, went to law school. I started my path, my legal path, with the Ministry of the Interior, working in their populations department. I did that because I wanted a bit of a taste in the government, but I knew that I always wanted to become a corporate and commercial lawyer. So my very first job was at Gross Kleinhändler. I was there for a few years, and then I moved to Goldfarb to focus more commercial and U.S. securities and IP and licensing and data privacy. I then went to a company by the name of Nice Systems on behalf of Goldfarb for a year, replacing someone on maternity leave. And I never looked back going in-house. I found my first job in-house at a company called Zerto, which does disaster recovery. They were since acquired by HPE. And 6 or 7 years after that, so this is roughly 10, 11 years ago, I moved to a company by the name of Signia, which does a
well-known one.
Deep forensic investigations, incident response, proactive readiness. And then I decided I wanted to move well beyond the legal and focus on not only legal, but also strategy and global development. And Critical Impact's founders, Noy Erez and Doron Dalet Hadar, gave me the opportunity, took a chance on me, and it's been a fun ride ever since. So I joined them 5 months ago as their Chief Legal and Strategy Officer.
So usually when I bring over here someone from a corporate or a company, I would give them what we call the 10 minutes of marketing before we dive deep into the professional issues. And as you know, Doron already was in one of my podcasts, the one that I was doing together with Academic Ono. And probably I would bring him again to understand. I know that in those days is a lot in the TV and everything, so I would let it go down a bit, and then I'll bring him because I would like to hear from him the change that we were going over the last 2 years, and he has a very special point of view because what he was doing in the past and what he is doing today. So let's start by talking about critical impact.
Sure.
Okay. So first of all, what is the company? what they are doing, who are the owners, the founders.
Sure. So the founders are Noy Erez and Dalit, who started the company, I believe, back in 2017. They both have very deep roots in crisis management and negotiations at the very top of the IDF. And they've both led. Speaking to what we do at Critical Impact, they've both led countless ransomware and extortion negotiations and hundreds of war games, cyber simulations, the non-technical organizational readiness.
Yeah.
Noy brings the operational instinct and leadership discipline, while Dalit brings analytical calm to the chaos that arises in a dynamic environment, which is negotiating with threat actors.
One of the things that I had over here, some other IR companies. Okay. And I'm talking about the biggest one. Let's say from the top 3, top 5. And one of the things that was very, very, let's say, focused is they were talking about the team. The idea that you need to have a team with different expertise. How it's in your company?
So that's a great question. And I would say that the team at Critical Impact, or the diversity of the team at Critical Impact, is paramount to what we do, right? So you have Noy and Dalit, who bring all the experience, right? They bring 20, 30, 40 years of experience in mediation, negotiation, crisis management, elite crisis management. But then we also have psychologists, because when we interact with a threat actor, we want to get into their head. We want to gain their trust, right? So our clients are often highly concerned for good reason. And like I mentioned before, we bring the calm and the analytics to getting 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of a threat actor. And we do that because of the rich tapestry that is our team, right? So we have myself, who deals with legal and strategy, and the experience of understanding the geopolitical landscape of a situation, right? Threat actors are from all over the world, from various regions. And that comes with compliance issues, risk issues, right? And then we have what we call a Kambats in Hebrew, K'tzin Mifzaim, who he's the operational manager of an event. And it could be a ransomware negotiation, or it could be a proactive. If we're going into one of our clients and doing a cyber war game simulation, right? They have a technical background, so they are able to very easily speak to the forensics teams, right? To the technical teams, to the IT teams, InfoSec teams, and then we have psychologists, who I mentioned before, really help us get into the mind of the threat actors.
It's the first time that I hear that psychologists are employed in IR company.
And then we have operations. It's a very Critical Impact. It's a small but strong powerhouse, and we're growing. And I'll be happy to get into that later if time allows.
I would like to talk for a couple of minutes on the legal aspect before we dive to the other things. Usually, companies are not aware of the importance of having, in an event of ransomware or any kind of cyber attack, legal around the table. So they have their own legal,
Yep.
if they're big enough. But I believe that you are talking about a different perspective of the legal, right? Because when you are getting a decision or you want the CEO or whatever to get the decisions, you must see it through also legalize the day after
Sure.
you have the event. Can you talk a bit about it?
Sure. I mean, not only the day after, but during the event. Right. So even if a client has a legal team, they're not necessarily versed in the regulatory or compliance issues that arise in a cyber event, right? So on the one hand, I'm not their lawyer, right? I'm their crisis manager, or I'm part of the team that manages their crisis. But on the other hand, given the experience that I've gained over the past several years, especially working for leading IR companies, I have a viewpoint that their legal team or their CEO would want to hear. And you know, we're actually wrapping up an event these days where I think my impact was critical, pun intended, because I brought up issues that they didn't necessarily think about, or I reviewed reports which needed a legal eye that wasn't their own.
I remember that I was talking a long time ago with someone who is doing legal to crisis. And one of the things that she told me was that every piece of paper which is written during the crisis need to be written in legal eyes, thinking about the day after.
Yes.
If tomorrow someone would like to sue you or anything like that. And how in the middle of crisis, when, as we know, usually the mind doesn't work well. I'm not talking about the team that is coming to manage the crisis. I'm talking about the customer, which is in very deep stress and everything. You can make them understand the legal point of view of things. It sounds for me like something which is impossible.
So you're right; it is impossible. It's a great question. I could talk on a more formal answer is that the issue of attorney-client privilege is something near and dear to my heart because I was involved in many events, especially at Signia, where, and especially in the United States, where attorney-client privilege and protecting the work product was crucial in the continued negotiation. So my first piece of advice, even though I don't know that you actually asked me for advice, but
no, it's okay.
But having a lawyer in the room, because of the nature of our job, adds a sort of layer of privilege and protection. So that's step one. Is it foolproof? Absolutely not, right? But having a lawyer in the room helps. That's step one. Step two is, more often than not, when legal shows that they have a voice and that they know what they're talking about, they're listened to. So they have the stage of bringing up important issues, important compliance and legal issues about what to say, what not to say, what to include in the reports, what not to include in the reports. I could say that at Signia and at Critical Impact as well, I'll often review reports that clients need to send out to their customers, right? And to make sure that it doesn't include information or even statements that could land them in hot water the day after, as you said.
You were mentioning about that the team dynamics, the whole team that is managing the crisis, is bringing it to something like 70% reduction.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about it? Because reduction of what?
When a client is hit with a ransom notice, it usually comes with a price tag. The price tag will either come right away in the original message, and the message could be via email, via hidden text file in the client's servers, because that's where that's where they've landed, right? So at the end of the day, there's a price tag. And what does it mean when there's a price tag? It means that the client is scared, right? But we come in and we're detached of the emotion and we treat it as a business, right? That's why ransomware as a service is so big, because at the end of the day, more often than not, the incentive for the attacker is money. They're in it for money. So they treat it as a business, as a commercial negotiation, and so do we. So everything is negotiable. Price is negotiable. And the reason that we're able to bring such a high reduction in cost, it's not always 70%. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's slightly less. But 70% is a good baseline for where our value is. We're negotiating a contract with them. That's what we're doing. And because we're able to get in their minds, or if not get in their minds, then see 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of where they may be going in terms of the dialogue with the client, they're ready to negotiate and lower the price.
If I'm looking at the last 2 years in Israel, I'm saying something that I'm not sure that I'm saying something that is true. All right. Big part of the crisis weren't about, it wasn't about money. It was about the idea of making some kind of threat and to try disrupting the company's work. Now, over here, I don't think there is any kind of negotiation, but still you have a crisis. So how you deal with that?
We can't necessarily look at them as a geopolitical threat. Then I believe you're getting at is business continuity, right? Disrupting a client's business. So that's also where the technical team comes in, right? In every event that we're engaged, we're working side by side with a technical team to mitigate the threat or to eliminate the threat altogether. Making sure that the client has the appropriate backup servers in place, and we work together with PR and media to manage the reputational issues, because those are major in these types of events, and we just work together. That's why our experience is in communicating and tying together all the moving parts in an event, and that's PR, media, the insurer, right? When the client has cyber insurance, it's external counsel, it's the CEO, it's the CTO, it's the CISO. Everyone plays a major role here, and And actually, one of the things that we at Critical Impact test in our war game simulations is we have a dedicated business continuity simulation, which is it's a lot of fun. I've sat in
Okay.
sat in on a bunch of them, and companies often realize how woefully unprepared they are for an event, right? For an attack, for any sort of threat. They may have the right technology tools in place, but more often than not, the C-level and the board don't necessarily know how to react. They're not the ones with the fingers on the keyboard.
Yeah, of course.
So you could have a great IT team, and they're great, but to manage the crisis itself requires the attention at the very, very top.
So you brought me in a nice way to my next question, and this is readiness versus prevention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because a lot of times I see customers that are dealing a lot with the prevention, and I would say more the technology side.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that is saying all the time that cyber is not technology. It's a lot of things, including technology, but technology is not the first one. And readiness can be something else, or let's say prevention skills, it's part of the readiness, but again, it's something which is much bigger. So can you go deeper in that?
Yeah, sure. So companies should absolutely continue to invest heavily in all the technological tools, firewalls, EDRs, AI tools. But the problem is when the attack happens, they sort of freeze, right? And that freeze zone needs to be dealt with, right? So where does critical impact come in? In trained response, how to respond to the attack as an organization, right? So it's not only having the right policies in place, but it's training and testing those policies under pressure, which is exactly what we do, right? So we have, now we'll go into the marketing you spoke of. We provide crisis simulations and tabletops where we practice and test real-time scenarios, right? With a lot of injects, real-time injects of what happens in a real event, right? So we have role clarity, right? Who decides what, right? Who not only is important to have the right people around the table, and when I speak about that, I'm referring to the C-level and any function in an organization which is necessary when an attack happens, but they all need to know how to work together, right? So they each need to know what their roles and responsibilities are when they are tested with a real-time incident. And then it's just building a network of trust, right? It's trust between all those moving parts. It's trust not only with the moving parts, but it's trust with your insurer, your external counsel, your technical forensic team, your media team. All of those issues or all of those members of the team are crucial.
Usually I see that the training is on, I would call it the management. Okay. And on the other hand, we have the teams that, everything is what we call a tabletop. Okay. It's around the table. You're giving a scenario. It's a very pleasant environment. Even if the issue is stressing, it's not a real stress of an event, of a crisis. How you can simulate the real stress?
So that's a great question. Firstly, I would say that when we do a simulation, only one or two functions by our client know that they obviously all know it's a simulation, right? But they're only one or two functions know the content and how we deliver the simulation.
Okay.
Right? So that's number one. Number two is you really need a strong CEO in the room to make sure that his team understands the seriousness of this, right? And we work with clients, top clients who all understand the seriousness. They get the seriousness of a simulation. And the third is, and this speaks to something I mentioned before, every simulation we have, or our more extensive war games, which are anywhere between 4 and 8 hours long, include a number of injects. And what that means is that the client is sitting in either one or more war rooms, right? Sometimes we'll set up war rooms depending on the department. So you could have legal in one war room, you could have HR in another war room, you could have finance in yet another war room. And what we'll do is we'll inject things like, okay, here's a new email from the threat actor, or we just received a letter from the privacy regulator saying, hey, we know that this happened. What are you doing? We'll actually create letters for official letters from the regulators asking for information, saying, hey, we know this happened. What's going on here? It could be inquiries from clients. It could be inquiries from journalists, right? So we really try to simulate everything that we've seen using our experience in past events in the simulations that we deliver.
We have a new guy in town, which is called the AI.
Yeah.
Okay. AI is not new, but the way that it is published today to everyone, it's a game changer. Okay, we see it in the day-to-day work, that people are using AI for writing things, for everything. And on the other hand, we see it on the attacker side, that it's much easier today to write an attack.
Yep.
Okay? 0 days became very popular because it's easy to do them. And above it, we see that the AI is used during the crisis. Okay? So it became a bit like we have, another warrior, which is called the AI. Give me your perspective.
Sure. The world is moving in such a way that AI is not only the defender's advantage. It doesn't only provide the defender's advantage. It's sort of creating a cyber arms race when used by the wrong people, right? So they're using, for example, attackers are using AI to create unbelievably real deepfake messages. They're creating perfectly crafted phishing emails.
Oh, yeah.
And not only that, they're using AI to automate scanning and exposing vulnerabilities in the systems which they attack. And this sort of has enhanced the whole world that I mentioned before of ransomware as a service, right? So the cost of entry is low, right? A teenager sitting in their parents' basement can launch sophisticated campaigns with minimal skill. And that's it. I mean, it's making the attacks a lot more sophisticated and a lot harder to detect. So companies have to counter that with the usage of their own AI tools, right? They have to keep up. But I agree with you. AI is as good as it is, and I think it should be continued to be enhanced and improved and used. It's making things a lot easier for attackers.
Do you see in crisis in the last year, I would say, that you had the feeling that you negotiate with AI, or AI is deeply involved? Can you know that?
You can know that. Sometimes we'll take the message and run it through to see if it was. We'll use AI to see whether there are patterns, different patterns in the ransomware notes, but often not, right? And more often than not, where we have to employ the human touch in our methodologies, which is critical in what we deliver to the client and in a negotiation. Having seen dozens of ransomware notes over the past few years, attackers are really, really good at making the note not sound perfect, right? Make it sound as if they're real people. So we have to assume there are real people on the other side of the keyboard.
One of the things that we see very deeply in, or that is affecting right now, it's the phishing. That once you would reading a message, SMS or a WhatsApp or even an email, and said, okay, fine, this is phishing. It's very understandable. The language is not the right language. It's looking, in one look, you are saying, okay, it's fishy. I see today messages and emails, which even I needs to take a good look to make sure if it's real or not. Still, you have some signs, like the email address and, it's paypal.com, or, some signs that you say, okay, fine, this is phishing. But it's not anymore like, oh, okay, fine, it's phishing. You need to attract your attention very well. Absolutely. To understand.
Absolutely.
And we know that there are two ways that the attackers will come. Now, there are more, but the main one would be through the supply chain, and through phishing. Phishing and social engineering.
Yep.
Now, one of the things that is very important while dealing with a cyber attack is to understand who is patient zero, where it started. Okay? And I'm sure that your forensic guys are doing that all the time. The question is, do you publish or send this information, let's say, to Malach Cyber or someone that can use this information to prevent to prevent it happen in other places. How it's working.
So if we take a step back from the cyber directorate,
yeah,
my comment in general on phishing emails or suspected phishing emails is that in every single situation, your CISO is your friend, right? And what I mean by that is, given the nature of my job and given the fact that it's public facing, is more often than not I was the target of phishing attacks, and it made me very paranoid. Now, sometimes it's not really good to be a paranoid person in this world, but sometimes you have to be. And I would forward virtually every email which I thought there was even a 1% chance of it being bait, right? To our CISO to clear it. Utilize that relationship, right? And it could be a company of 10 people, it could be a company of 10,000 people. And let the CISO handle it, right? That's their job, which is one of the most important jobs in organizations these days. Now, in terms of involving the cyber directorate, so the answer is sometimes, right? Because
it's a priceless information.
I imagine forensic teams, right, do share that information. Well, not only with the cyber directorate, more often than not, they'll come out with public advisories, right, and which are great.
Let's go to another new guy in the town, which Amendment 13, and this is directly to you because you're dealing with legal. And so for those that doesn't know, Amendment 13 is about privacy. And the big change in this amendment is that there is liability. Until now, it was, well, yes, no, maybe. Now there is a very clear liability of company, directors, managers, and even it can bite quite well in money. So first, give me your impression about what is happening right now in Israel about the Amendment 13, how you feel it. Do you have customers that are coming and saying, well, help me because I'm not sure? I can tell you from my personal experience that I'm a CISO in 2 power plants, and we have only one customer, okay, which is Noga. And I was sure that we don't have any kind of database or something, maybe the employees, but not more than that. And I was very surprised to find that I have 7 of those. 7 places which can be called places that I must keep the privacy. So first, let's start with the legal point of view, because in the end of the day, it's the legal ministry that was dealing with that.
Let's first take a look at what's happening in the world today when it comes to cyber attacks, right? It used to be that the classic cyber attack would be data encryption, okay? But now you're seeing more and more leakage of personal and sensitive information, right? So that highlights the need to have a robust privacy regime in place at a company. I would say Amendment 13 it's more of the same of the trend in which the world is going. And what I mean by that is Amendment 13, from everything I know about it, the goal is to bring it closer to GDPR, right? So if you're already, most companies, especially in Israel, are global facing, right? So they should have started
way ago,
long time ago, putting in best practices that are guided by GDPR. So if you've done that, then you're already ready for Amendment 13. If you're not, then you should really take a look at the direction in which the world and cyber attacks are going, and start putting all your private information under the microscope. Understand exactly where it's stored, how it's stored. Do those DPIAs, right? Do those impact assessments, which really test how a company treats and transfers its private information, right? The Amendment 13 is, it sounds a bit cynical, but it's only a piece of paper.
Yeah, of course.
Reflecting what companies should be doing anyways, right? Because the fines that are levied by the regulators could be nothing compared to what you have to pay to rent, to threat actors if you don't protect the information, the privacy of, especially the private information, in the right manner.
And of course, a lot of people that can go and sue you in the court because I gave you my information. You should have protected it. I believe that one of the big problems, or maybe the big issues with data is that we learned to think that the more information we have in our systems, the more we can use. And companies are holding huge amount of information that nobody is looking at. No real BI needs that. Even myself, I have 5 tera of information in my Google Drive. Since the 90s, I believe, I have information over there that I'm still holding. I don't have the power even to go, but someone told me that if you have your desk with a lot of papers, okay, and you have papers that you didn't deal with for a week, just throw it to the basket. And maybe this is one of the things that should be a change, to change our
mindset.
Mindset. Yep. To change it, there is a lot of information that we don't need in our systems. Just delete it.
Yeah.
Because someone told me, well, a lot of long time ago, that every piece of information, or how to say it in English, that garbage of one, it's a gold of other.
Mm-hmm.
So get rid of this garbage and make sure it's not becoming gold for anyone else. And this is something that it's how I see it, and I'm trying to tell it to companies. So maybe it will take time, but go into your information and see if you need everything. I'm not talking about things that you need because of regularization or something like that, okay? But info that you are holding because it's there. Just there. Nobody is using it. Nobody needs it. Go and throw it away. It's even will cost you less money because you need less disks.
So I actually agree with that, right? I agree with that. And more and more companies have include in their data retention policies the deletion of certain data after a set number of days, which is great. Unfortunately, you have countries and states in the US which have their own data retention laws, right? Especially around financial data. It's financial data and other such sets of data. So you do have two conflicting components.
Yeah.
Where on the one hand, it's in the best interest of a company to get rid of personal or sensitive information as quickly as possible, so long as it really doesn't need it. On the other hand, it's got obligations, and obligations and laws and regulations that prevent it from deleting the data. But I agree that there needs to be some sort of balance between the two. To make a tax less incentivized, meaning, okay, maybe there is no gold here. Maybe it really is all garbage.
So, Mark, we got to the end. It was very quick, very short. And let's warp it out. Okay, so what is the message that you want our audience to take from this interview?
Firstly, I would say don't only treat cyber as an IT issue. Treat it as a challenge to leadership, as a challenge to governance. Choose the right partners who really get the legal, strategic, and psychological dimensions of crisis response. Build trusted relationships with those teams, both internally and externally. Because at the end of the day, every crisis teaches you something about leadership. And at Critical Impact, we get to see companies transform in real time because of the trust we build with our clients and with ourselves on our team.
Mark, thank you very much for your time. And thank you to Critical Impact that was helping us on a few podcasts so we can do them. And I wish you and the company a lot of luck.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. This was a blast. This was a lot of fun for me. I'll say that this was actually a first for me, and Critical Impact has opened the door to many firsts in my career. So, thank you for the opportunity.
Great. Thank you very much for watching or listening to us, and see you on the next podcast.